What is the best gun for grouse hunting and small game hunting? So whether you are brand new to upland hunting, small game, or grouse hunting, and you're looking for advice on buying your first firearm, or you're just curious, I'm going to get into some considerations and attributes that I think will help you be the most successful out in the field. First off, you don't need anything fancy. Whatever you have access to that gets you out in the mountains, out in the woods, hunting and being successful will work. Whether that's a 410, a 17 HMR, or a 12 gauge. If you're getting out there, having fun and being successful, do it to it. There are a few attributes to consider when looking at a great small game hunting and grouse hunting gun. First attribute is going to be lightweight, so you're going to want a gun you can carry all day, walking hills, walking trails, walking old logging roads. You're probably not going to want a 12-pound shotgun or like a competition rifle that weighs 10 pounds. You're going to get tired carrying that thing for a few miles. In that same thought process is speed. So how quickly can you acquire your target? You're basically going to want to be quick draw McGraw out there. Grouse flush quick and rabbits take off quick. This is mostly pertaining to shotgun use, as you're likely not going to be shooting at moving targets with a 22 or a rifle. So for your shotgun, consider a lighter weight shotgun with a shorter barrel, maybe in that 26, 28 inch length. You're probably not going to want to use a 12-pound shotgun with a 32-inch barrel. Also, having a shorter barrel length will help you maneuver through brush when you're hunting some thicker stuff. Now, if you're using something like a 22 or a 17 HMR, those are generally going to be pretty light and fast unless you're using like a competition gun that's 12 pounds. So your consideration is going to be bolt action versus semi-automatic, and I would go with the semi-automatic myself to help you get quick shots off. Next up, you're going to want a gun you can actually practice with. So something like a 20 gauge or a 22 are going to have fairly low recoil, and so you're going to be able to take it out in the field and get some shots and get a feel for the gun. Whereas if you're rocking something like a 10 gauge, that's going to have quite a kick to it, and you're probably not going to want to shoot it, aka practice with it all that often. Another consideration is ammunition. So can you find ammo, and how cost prohibitive is it? With the low recoil and fairly low cost of 22 ammo, you could go practice with that and shoot it all day long and get very proficient with your firearm. 12 gauge shells, 20 gauge shells, those are also fairly ubiquitous, easy to find, and not super cost prohibitive. There's also like 28 gauge and 410, which would be easy to shoot all day, but shells can be a little harder to find and a little bit more expensive. Now, another thing to consider when looking at small game hunting and grouse hunting guns is legality. Here in Washington State, where I live, you cannot hunt like grouse with a shotgun bigger than a 12 gauge, so you couldn't take out a 10 gauge, and you cannot use a rifle with a caliber bigger than a 24, so you couldn't go out and shoot a grouse with a 30-06, not that you'd want to anyway, unless you like exploding small woodland creatures. Different places are also going to have different rules about handguns, so essentially you're going to need to check your regulations for wherever you live to know what type of firearm you are allowed to use. If I was a betting man, I'd go with the 22 LR and the shotgun as the most popular guns for small game hunting and grouse hunting, with the shotgun probably being the most popular. There are definitely some advantages to having a shotgun versus a rifle or something like a 22 LR. So a shotgun is going to be much easier to actually hit your target with because of the spread of the shot shell, or the shot inside of your shot shell. Like I said, grouse and rabbits tend to move pretty fast, and having that spread from the shot shell is quite the advantage. You can also find fairly lightweight and maneuverable shotguns. For example, I have a CZ Upland Ultralight that weighs just under 6 pounds with a 26-inch barrel. Shells are pretty easy to find for a shotgun. You can find 12 gauge shells, 20 gauge shells at most sporting goods store, and they're not wildly expensive. Shotguns also come in a ton of configurations. You can get a side-by-side, over, under, semi-auto, different gauges, weights, and brands. The 22 LR is going to have some of its own unique advantages over a shotgun. 22 LRs are generally lightweight. For example, I just picked up this Winchester Wildcat, which weighs only 4 pounds. This gun is super easy to carry all day, and 22 ammunition is relatively easy to find and inexpensive. Because of the extremely low recoil and low cost of 22 LR ammunition, I can take this gun and practice with it all day and get super proficient with it. 22s also come in all types of configurations, from competition rifles to breakdown rifles, survival style rifles, and there's the ever ubiquitous 1022 from Ruger, which weighs about 5 pounds, is relatively inexpensive and reliable with all types of modifications you can make to it. Another big advantage of the 22 LR is it's a little easier on the ears. Shotguns are loud, 22s just are not that loud, especially if you're shooting something like a suppressed 22. So if you can't tell at this point in the videos, my two top choices for small game hunting and grouse hunting would be a shotgun or a 22 LR. All right, let's get into some specifics about shotguns. So shotguns you can get in all types of gauges. You could get a 410, a 12 gauge, a 20 gauge, or a 28 gauge, but I think the 20 gauge is going to be perfect for your everyday small game and grouse hunting adventures. You can find a lightweight 20 gauge. They're pretty easy to shoot because the recoil isn't all that significant. The shells hold enough shot to be quite effective for more inexperienced shooters, and ammo is available and not all that cost prohibitive. You could also choose a semi-auto, a side-by-side, an over-under, or a pump action. I don't think that really matters. I personally like an over-under. The aesthetics of the over-under are just awesome, and they're pretty lightweight, but it doesn't actually matter which one you get as long as you can take it out in the field and be effective with it. Now, if you did decide to go with a shotgun and you're curious about shotgun chokes or shotgun shells, I have a couple videos I put out about what I think the best shotgun shells and choke combinations are. I'll put links to those down in the description box if you want to go watch those. All right, let's talk some specifics about the 22 LR. There are a million 22s out there, and they just aren't as complicated as the shotguns. With the 22, you don't really have to consider shotgun shell length, the weight of the shot inside, the size of the shot inside, what choke to use. 22s are fairly simple and an excellent option for small game and grouse hunting. But keep in mind, it's harder to hit your target and you're going to have to be a much better shot. So for the 22, I just don't think you need anything super fancy. You could pick up something like this Winchester Wildcat, which is in that $250 to $275 range. You could pick up a mid-price 22 like the ever popular Ruger 1022. As long as it shoots straight and you are effective with it, it's going to be a great tool for grouse hunting and small game hunting. Ammo also doesn't matter that much for the 22. Just stick with something like a 36 or 40 grain round. I personally avoid subsonic. I'm actually working on a video, the best 22 ammo for grouse hunting and small game hunting. When that's done, I will put a link down in the description if you want to check that out. So to sum up my thoughts on what are the best guns for grouse hunting and small game hunting, I would choose a 20 gauge that is relatively lightweight with a shorter barrel that is easy to maneuver and acquire your target with, as you're going to be able to practice with it and find shotgun shells. A 22 is also a fantastic option. It's super lightweight, easy to carry all day, easy to shoot, easy to practice with, easy to find, and easy to find ammunition. Now, if you made me choose only one, 20 gauge versus 22 LR, I'm gonna take the 20 gauge as it is just the most versatile between the two. With the 20 gauge, you're going to be able to hit moving targets easier. You can hit still targets. You can combine different shot shell loads with different chokes to get different ranges, and you can hunt a wide range of small game and grouse with a 20 gauge. I just want to repeat that the information in this video is basically just my opinion. If you have a favorite small game or grouse hunting gun that I didn't mention in this video, I think that's awesome. I think everyone should use whatever they have that is available to them that they are successful with. So whatever you're using that helps you get out in the woods, out in the mountains, and be successful at hunting grouse, more power to you. I really hope some of this information was useful for you guys. That's going to do it for this one. We'll catch you on the next adventure.